The night sky over the border zone was heavy with smoke and silence, the kind of silence that made soldiers grip their rifles tighter. Lieutenant Mara Hayes crouched in the shadows of a burned-out vehicle, her pulse steady despite the chaos still echoing from the ambush. Hours ago, her unit had been ordered to pull out after a mission went south. But when the dust cleared, one voice was missing from the comms. Sergeant Tessa Ward, her best friend since training, her sister in all but blood, had been captured alive. Command said it was over. "We can't risk another team," the major's voice had crackled over the radio. "We'll open negotiations at dawn." Mara had stared at the radio for a long moment before switching it off. Negotiations. She knew what that meant. Interrogation, torture, and a video posted online before sunrise. Tessa didn't have until dawn. Now, under the cover of moonlight, Mara checked the last of her gear. Suppressed rifle, 2 mags, 1 knife, 1 radio, no backup. She wasn't supposed to be here. She'd stripped her insignia off her uniform and left behind her dog tags. This wasn't a sanctioned rescue, it was personal. She moved through the ravine like a shadow, boots silent against the sand and stone. Every few steps, she paused, listening to the night. Dogs barked faintly in the distance, and the rhythmic hum of a generator carried through the wind. She was getting close. Her breath fogged in the chill as she reached the edge of a small valley dotted with enemy tents. A single floodlight swept lazily across the camp, cutting through the darkness like a blade. Through her scope, she scanned the area. There, metal cage, 2 guards, and a woman inside, tied but alive. Tessa. Her friend's face was bloodied but defiant, even as one guard kicked dirt at her feet. Mara's throat tightened. She steadied her rifle, aligning the crosshairs. Breathe in, exhale slow. The first guard dropped before he even knew what hit him. The second spun toward the sound, shouting something in a foreign tongue, then crumpled, a clean hole through his helmet. Mara moved fast, darting down the slope before anyone could react. She reached the cage and pulled a small cutter from her vest. "Mara." Tessa's voice was hoarse, disbelief mixing with relief. "Yeah, it's me," she whispered, cutting through the lock. "Let's go home." Before Tessa could respond, the sound of boots filled the air. Shouts. Flashlights flicked on, slicing through the darkness. Mara yanked Tessa's arm, dragging her toward the ravine as bullets ripped through the sand around them. She fired back once, twice, enough to buy seconds, not safety. "Can you run?" Mara asked, breathless. Tessa nodded weakly. "Good," Mara said, tightening her grip. "Because I didn't come this far to leave without you." The two vanished into the shadows, the enemy's shouts echoing behind them, 2 soldiers against an army, bound by loyalty stronger than fear. Mara half dragged, half carried Tessa up the ravine slope, her breath coming in sharp bursts. Gunfire echoed behind them, tracer rounds cutting red streaks through the night. Each bullet was a reminder that they were still deep in enemy territory, miles from safety and with no extraction team waiting. "Keep low," Mara hissed, pushing Tessa into a crawl as a spotlight swept overhead. The beam missed them by inches, illuminating the cracked rocks just beyond their reach. Dust and gravel filled their lungs, but they didn't stop. At the top of the ridge, Mara paused, pulling Tessa behind a boulder. "We've got 10, maybe 12 hostiles still active," she whispered, scanning through her scope. The camp below was chaos, men shouting orders, searchlights moving wildly. "They're spreading out. We move east through the canyon. Once we hit the riverbed, I can call for pickup." Tessa nodded weakly. Her wrists were raw and her voice trembled. "You shouldn't have come back for me." Mara gave a grim smile. "You'd have done the same. Besides, I wasn't about to let them make a martyr out of my best shot." Before Tessa could reply, the sharp bark of an engine cut through the air. A truck was climbing the ridge from the opposite side, headlights bouncing off the rocks. Mara cursed under her breath. They were boxed in. "Here," she said, pressing her last magazine into Tessa's trembling hands. "Can you still shoot?" Tessa looked at the rifle, then at Mara. "Always." They took position on opposite sides of the boulder. As the truck neared, Mara aimed for the driver's seat. One precise shot cracked through the night. The truck swerved, slamming into a rock face and bursting into flames. The explosion lit the canyon in orange light, bright enough to reveal their position. "Go," Mara shouted, firing into the darkness as enemy silhouettes appeared on the ridge. She covered Tessa's retreat, every shot buying them a few more feet of survival. The sound of shouting grew closer, more urgent. They reached the canyon floor just as the river came into view, a narrow line of moonlit water winding through the desert. The radio crackled in Mara's pocket. Static, then a familiar voice. "This is Ghost Actual. You got company, Lieutenant." "More than I wanted," Mara panted. "We need extraction, north side of the canyon, grid 27. "Copy that. 5 minutes. Hold your ground." Mara laughed dryly. "Not like we have a choice." A fresh volley of bullets ricocheted off the rocks. Mara and Tessa dove behind cover. Tessa returned fire, her aim steady despite exhaustion. One by one, the enemy shouts faded as they hit the ground. Then came the roar of rotors overhead. A helicopter burst over the ridge, wind and sand swirling violently. A rope ladder dropped from its side. "After you," Mara said, giving Tessa a push upward. Tessa gripped the ladder, looking down. "You're insane, you know that." "Yeah," Mara smirked, "but you're alive." As the chopper lifted them into the night sky, the burning camp below grew smaller, two soldiers against a war, their bond unbroken.